My name is Sebastian, and I died on my 27th birthday. You probably won't believe how I died. My ex-boyfriend got married, I was the best man, and then the bride aimed her car at the groom, missed, and hit me instead. If this had been on TikTok, it might have gotten to million likes. But when it happens to you, all you can say is, really. On the edge of death, I heard a voice, like one of those customer service bots but with a cold, no-nonsense tone. It said, "Do you want to live?" I said, "Obviously." Then it said, "An Omega werewolf just slit her wrists. You'll take over her body and complete 3 tasks for her: give birth to this child, kill the alpha who bit her, and find the real murderer of her entire family." Before I could even ask how does a guy give birth, my soul was yanked into the abyss. When I woke up, I felt like I'd been run over by a truck and then tossed into a washing machine on spin cycle for 800 rounds. My wrist was wrapped in blood-stained bandages. The back of my neck throbbed with a dull, searing pain, as if someone had pressed a hot iron into it. And stranger still, something the size of a fist pulsed slowly inside my lower belly, like a second heartbeat or a ticking bomb. It took me several minutes to piece together who I was now. Isaiah Gray, a male Omega werewolf, for weeks pregnant, and the father of this child. An alpha who had forcibly claimed me on the night of the blood moon. I didn't know him. All I remembered were his eyes, deep blue, like a frozen lake in winter. The reason I was lying here was that Isaiah couldn't take any of it anymore. After the blood moon ritual, she cut her own wrists. Right before her soul faded, she made a contract with me, her body in exchange for those 3 tasks. Just as I was trying to get out of bed, the door opened. The man who walked in was at least 6'4", broad-shouldered and narrow-waisted, with messy chestnut hair and a jawline sharp enough to open an envelope. But the most striking thing were his eyes, golden amber like to freshly minted coins in the firelight of the hearth. His name was Cole Marshall. He was the owner of this house, and everyone believed he was the alpha who had claimed me. He looked at me with an expression as complicated as an old, worn-out book. I instinctively put a hand over my belly, and suddenly a flood of memories that didn't belong to me rushed into my head. Well, they belonged to Isaiah, but now they were mine too. It was a rainy night 7 years ago. Isaiah's whole family had been slaughtered. She crawled out of the pool of blood, almost freezing to death. A teenager saved her, wrapped his coat around her shaking body, and said, "Don't be afraid, I'll take you away." That teenager said his name was Colin, and the man standing in front of me now was that same boy, his real name, Cole Marshall. Cole told me he was a beta, not an alpha. Werewolf betas can't claim anyone. That's basic biology in this world. I froze. If he hadn't claimed me, then who was the alpha who did? Cole didn't answer. He just looked silently at the bandages on my wrist and said something that sent a chill down my spine. He said, "Isaiah, you should have died 7 years ago. I saved you, but you hated me for 7 years because you always thought I was the one who killed your family." I opened my mouth to say I never hated you, but the emotion rising from deep inside my body betrayed me. Isaiah really had hated him. Hated him for 7 full years. Hated him so much that she called out his name during the blood moon ritual. Hated him so much that she wrote in her suicide note, "Cole Marshall destroyed everything I am." But the truth was, Cole hadn't killed her family, and he hadn't claimed her. He was just a boy who saved a strange wolf cub in the rain, and because he used a fake name, he was treated as a murderer and a rapist, carrying the blame for 7 years. Right then, a silvery voice exploded inside my head, that customer service bot that had dragged me in. In a tone that said, "Oh, I forgot to mention," it told me Isaiah's whole family was wiped out by that blue-eyed alpha, and that same alpha is the biological father of the child you're carrying. Cole is just a vessel for the blood moon's magic, because the blood moon twists perception into reality. When Isaiah was delirious, she mistook Cole for her attacker, so her body decided Cole was the father. But the real father is the mass murderer, I looked down at my slightly swollen belly and thought, this world is truly absurd. I'm carrying a killer's child, and the nominal father is an innocent man who was framed for 7 years. In her contract, Isaiah wanted me to kill the alpha who claimed her. But she died without ever knowing that the claiming alpha and the murderer were the same person. Cole must have noticed my face going pale. He walked over, squatted in front of me, and reached out to touch my forehead. His palm was very warm, his fingertips calloused, the kind of roughness you get from years of gripping knives or steering wheels. He said, "Isaiah, I won't let anyone hurt you again." I stared into those golden eyes and suddenly felt like laughing. You know, in this werewolf world, everyone uses pheromones and claims to define relationships. Alphas claim omegas, omegas depend on alphas, and betas always stand on the sidelines. But Cole is a beta. He can't claim anyone, and no one can claim him. Yet he spent 7 years investigating a massacre only because he saved a strange child in the rain. This isn't pheromone attraction, it isn't fate. It's just one person's promise to another, and that promise, Isaiah hated it for 7 years and died without ever knowing the truth. I put my hand over his and said, "Cole, I'm not going to kill you." He raised an eyebrow and said, "You were planning to kill me." I said it was the second task in the contract, but I think it was a mistake. He didn't ask what contract. He just paused for a few seconds, then said, "Then help me with one thing." I said, "What?" He said, "Find that blue-eyed alpha and we'll kill him together." Looking into his eyes, I felt for the first time that maybe this world wasn't as terrible as I thought. The little thing in my belly moved again, like a protest or a reminder that it was there. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. I'd have to pretend to be Isaiah in front of Cole. I'd have to find the real killer without revealing my transmigration. And I'd have to give birth to this child of unknown origin. The contract had 3 tasks, but every single one was like a knot that pulled tighter the more you tried to loosen it. At least now I wasn't alone anymore. I put my hand over his and said, "Cole, I'm not going to kill you." He raised an eyebrow and said, "You were planning to kill me." I said it was the second task in the contract, but I think it was a mistake. He didn't ask what contract. He just paused for a few seconds, then said, "Then help me with one thing." I said, "What?" He said, "Find that blue-eyed alpha and we'll kill him together." Looking into his eyes, I felt for the first time that maybe this world wasn't as terrible as I thought. The little thing in my belly moved again, like a protest or a reminder that it was there. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. I'd have to pretend to be Isaiah in front of Cole. I'd have to find the real killer without revealing my transmigration. And I'd have to give birth to this child of unknown origin. The contract had 3 tasks, but every single one was like a knot that pulled tighter the more you tried to loosen it. At least now I wasn't alone anymore.